will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Dick Hotchkiss.
How are you familiar with Alpha?
Brian Tanner, owner, was a student of mine. And as a very exceptional young man, we hit it off. He was working at another store down the road here when he first started. And one day I walked in, he told me that he was going to open a store. And that's been 30 years ago.
35 years.
Yeah. And so it's just been a friendship and a business corroboration over the years. Brian also became a student of mine, was a member of the original Earth, Air, Fire, Water workshop, cast of thousands, and we built a large wood-fired climbing kiln in the mountains up here together. Yeah.
Amazing. And that was the first one in Northern California?
That was the first climbing kiln in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? What was the inspiration and what drove you to take on that project?
My family had a wood-cutting business, trucks and chainsaws, and a couple of kids with strong backs. When I came back from graduate school, I saw a film titled The Potters of Onta. It's a classic black and white film of the village of Onta in Japan and firing the kiln. Remus and I were already good friends, and we decided we wanted to build a pottery. And we didn't have money for all the bells and whistles, so we thought, we got chainsaws and a truck. We'll build a wood-fired kiln. And we did a bunch of experimental designs and came up with, that was the best one already. So we more or less interpreted the Japanese step kiln design to our own needs. The Japanese kilns are usually very wide compared to ours. Ours is only 6 feet deep. Japanese kilns of the same design are usually 10 to 12 feet deep. But the arch is the same. So we copied. Without experience, we just kind of went for it.
And what is your earliest art memory?
During the Second World War, my dad came home on furlough and went fishing with my uncle. And he brought back this fish and laid it on the table. And I looked at that fish. Then Dad came home a month later, and I had drawn a picture of the fish. I took it out and showed it to him. He says, "Wow, you're going to be an artist." So that was basically my first awareness that that was something. Yeah. I don't remember like anything preschool as being outstanding. Once you become aware that you can do something, you begin to do it. And my skill level as a two-dimensional person grew rapidly. And I didn't get into three-dimensional stuff until after high school. Yeah.
So that's when clay started for you? Was after high
Clay
school?
started because a friend of mine was taking a clay class at Sac State, and I needed a unit or two. I was on the football team, and he says, well, this is after football practice. And so I took a clay class from Ruth Ripon, and that was the electricity that ignited my fire for it. Yeah.
What are some things that you remember about Ruth and her teaching?
She was the kindest, most benevolent educator that I ever experienced. We were totally in love, at least I was. And she was an avid fisherman and lived in River Park. And she invited me to come out on the river and salmon fish with her. So we did that. We even caught a couple. And over the years, I became her tech at Sac State. She was my master's advisor and lifelong friend. Yeah.
How did Ruth inspire your work?
She's a classicist and also a good sculptor. And my imagery bounced off of hers in a classic sort of way. I was never interested in the modern direction. As far as imagery, I was always more interested in the subtleties of wholeness and design, using both floral and animal patternings for the act of sgraffito and inlay and all that. Yeah. She was a natural, the best. Yeah.
What piece are you bringing to the anniversary show?
I will drop off a piece that is a wood-fired, salt, hand-built, has quite a history. It's old, but I am too. It's a lidded, six-sided box. Yeah. Wood-fired salt. Yeah.
Cool.
Do
Can't wait to see
do
that.
you have a favorite alternative firing method that you enjoy most?
I just like fire. You know, one of the most exciting firing methods that I've ever used is a combination of wood and waste oil, which I had to stop because my conscience finally got the best of me. But taking the kiln from cold to 05 with wood is a snap. Taking it from 05 to 12 is 7 more hours. That's a lot of work. And when you're working with one person, gets long in the tooth. So I devised a burner that you could fit into the firebox, and you could drip waste oil on this burner plate, and the total firing only took 4.5 hours for a large kiln. And the waste oil at that point was free from gas stations. They kept barrels of it, you know, $5 for a 55-gallon barrel of waste oil. We changed over to diesel, which was a little more expensive, but cleaner. So that's the most exciting kind of firing I've ever done. Turn that oil on, it goes, cones are, oh no. So speed, when you're working by yourself, has a lot of advantage. The faster you can make something happen with powerful results is the more appealing, you know, to me anyway. Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about clay, Dick?
About clay,
Yeah.
going out and digging it up from the mountainside. Yeah. The availability of material to make art with in my backyard, and many different kinds of it. We have kaolin up in the mountains. It's pure, pure as the driven snow. I use that for my glazes. The processing. To back up just a little on your question, I was a geology major in college. I was on my way with a football scholarship to the Colorado to be a geologist, and I had a girlfriend in Roseville that changed my mind. And so I ended up, all the rest of the stuff happened after that. Thank you, Janice. But yeah.
What are some things that someone new to harvesting clay should look for or should do?
Don't drive back roads. Have someone else drive for you. And look out the window. Every time you go through a road cut, there's going to be some new stuff. And if you take baggies and a felt pen, you gather up a little bit of this new stuff. New stuff 1, something something road 1 mile from the store. And then maybe 10 years later you'll test that. But getting material and going through the testing process for viability, for usage. It's like bags of feldspar are a lot. Bags of kaolin are a lot. You know, all that stuff is out there in a little bit of an impure state. And I learned early on to look and then finding. I travel all over to get stuff. I just came back from Seattle, and on my way home, I got 6 buckets of Alturas volcanic ash, which has some stuff in it that is conducive to the formation of copper red. I don't know what it is because I've never put it through a spectrometer, but you make the same glaze with volcanic ash from Nevada County and it doesn't work. But the stuff from Alturas is windblown, and most all of the Nevada County volcanic ashes are aeolian to start with, but then they were in a lake, they settled out. And so there's been some bastardization, of the material for all the soluble salts get dissolved away in the watercourse. And the aeolian deposit doesn't have that. So there's something in there that lights up the copper reds. So, yeah.
I'm just beginning my ceramic journey myself. I started hand building during the pandemic, and there are so many questions that I don't even know how to phrase to ask you. So I'm looking at Josh. What technical questions are on your mind as you hear him speak about these raw materials and the volcanic ash?
I just hear so many ceramicists talk about reds. I mean, it feels like people have been searching for the perfect red for centuries.
They have been.
Have you found it?
Perfect is relative, okay? I developed a copper red formula when I was in graduate school that was off and on. We call it Zork red. But when you make it and case it with volcanic ash. Just, it lights the red up. So there's something there that is an ignition processor. The perfect copper red. The Near Eastern Maiolica ware from through the Mediterranean channeling of Majorca and all that. They had a red from copper that was magnificent, but it's low fire. And to get it at high fire, where copper is very transient, and I think the whole secret of this for me, and this is my theory anyway, is that the early melting point in some of the materials in the Alturas volcanic ash seals the reduction in the glaze underneath it, so it can't escape.
I have a porcelain bottle at home that I made with your Zork red. It's one of my favorite pieces I have.
All right. Yeah, it's red. Yeah. I really like iron reds too. That's very exciting. The classical Hamada Japanese iron red, it's just to die for. Yeah.
Ohada reds.
Ohada.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
What is your favorite thing to make?
Favorite thing to make? Actually, about all of it is the same for me. It's the act of control, manipulation. I make a lot of covered, of lidded things. I make a lot of wide plates. The wide plate is a utility vessel in that I can exercise my design abilities over that surface. They've never been for spaghetti, you know. And the cover jar has this wonderment of contain and clink. I live off grid and have a wood cook stove. Can you imagine? And underneath the door of my oven are 3 clink lid cover jars. Center one's got my coffee beans in it. Whole wheat flour, regular flour. And so that's my table. Of course, when you live alone, you can do anything you want, but that's, yeah.
I want to know so much more, but we only have so much time.
That's all right. We're good.
I guess lastly, throughout the work that you've done, the art, the teaching, what are you trying to bring to the community or hope that you have brought to the community?
Knowledge. I'm a teacher, and when there are people hungry for things, I have a tendency to feed. I am working with a group of up to 20 advanced clay people right now that have somehow managed to find Nevada County, and giving them experiences that I have had that have been formative for me, and taking that one step further, like Rodney, for example. He's a master. You know, I'm in just awe of his technical abilities. And I suppose if he watched me, he'd be the same way. But teaching people, they like big stuff. And not everybody is strong enough to make big stuff. So I teach them how to make big stuff. The Rodney method. And learning how a person with not great strength can manipulate the media most effectively. Yeah. Technique. How to use your body. And having a vision, I think, of what all things come from a correct beginning. If you're not at one with the start of something, the foundation of everything holds everything else in place. And you have to learn to center. Before you do that, you have to learn to wedge. And if you're not wedging correctly, you might as well go sell rugs or something. So, I don't know if that made any sense. Yeah.
How important is the clean studio to that foundation?
Not important at all. I don't even see it. We do clean. I was just out at our studio, our rented studio space yesterday, and there were leaves all over the floor. Somebody had left the door open when the wind was blowing. And I looked at it and said, that's a nice touch. Closed the door. Cleaning up so that you can get through to your wheel is a really good idea. Maintaining a physically workable space. Everything has a place, everything in its place, everything anywhere you can put it. As long as you function with that, okay, I'm okay with that. When I was a professor, we had to clean up afterwards because there's another group of folks coming in afterwards. So that was a given. But clean's good. What showers are for.